Alright, today's video is going to be somewhat interesting because I'm hoping it will put a spotlight on a massive company that is currently breaking the law at every single corner, and if done right, it may in fact force at least a sliver of change in the mobile gaming market. The topic is advertising, which is something I've touched on before, but today I want to focus in on one particular Chinese developer and two specific high-profile mobile games called King of Avalon and Guns of Glory. This all started with a simple email. A subscriber who enjoys watching the channel's content sent me a Patreon message asking where he could forward a screenshot of what he claimed was a suspect mobile game advertisement. I said no problem, send it to my email, and then a few minutes later, this came through. Now, I'm a pretty big Age of Empires fan. It was a large part of my childhood gaming experience, and I immediately realized, yes, this is Age of Empires 2, not some crappy mobile game called Kings of Avalon. So I decided to explore the topic. The first thing to underline before really diving into what I found is that Kings of Avalon is not some small little unknown game. In fact, the title was one of the highest grossing mobile games in 2017, raking an estimated 15 million from microtransactions alone and securing between 10 million and 50 million downloads. The game is owned and operated by FunPlus Interactive out of Beijing, a company who not only develops mobile games through multiple offices, but invests heavily in the esports industry as well, and who also owns Guns of Glory, another high-profile mobile title that earns likely a similar amount in profit. So why make this video? Well, for starters, the advertisement I was sent did in fact show Age of Empires 2 while claiming it to be footage from Kings of Avalon, but that was just the start. As soon as I really started diving in, everything came up red. Turns out this is not the only instance where they have used the footage. Keep in mind, this ad is currently playing so as to be seen and sent to me by a viewer, but as far back as 1 or 2 years, this advertisement has been running, which depicts an entirely separate game as if it is in fact Kings of Avalon, effectively, to the very letter, false advertising. Now, this isn't the first time the mobile gaming market has seen false advertising pop up. There are numerous other examples. There is Dragon Awaken, which stole footage from an upcoming title called Project Awakening. The two games are totally and completely different, once again highlighting the piss-poor standards of mobile game development and how many of these titles are just cash grab scams sold on lies and deception rather than standalone quality. How about Mobile Royale, which ripped off the For Honor cutscene as if it was its own content, making slight changes here and there, but not enough to really matter. Or yet another example from Dragon Awaken, where they stole the trailer from Monster Hunter World and pretended it was indicative of their own title, which again, it is not. The thing is, even for an offender as bad as Dragon Awaken, it pales in comparison to FunPlus with Kings of Avalon and Guns and Glory. Stealing footage from Age of Empires turned out to be the tip of the iceberg, and really only the tip of the iceberg. Next, I came across past advertising campaigns such as this one, which showed, as always, footage that is in no way even close to the actual gameplay experience, a segment from what appeared to be a prehistoric tribal game. Well, it was a prehistoric tribal game called Ancient Cities, which had been lifted straight out of their promotional material and used to promote Kings of Avalon. Soon after, I came across another one. This time, in the screenshot, there was a sandy beach with a stone hatchet, and it turns out this footage was stolen from a game called Stranded Deep, which has absolutely nothing to do with the core concept of Kings of Avalon, and it started to be somewhat baffling why they would even choose this to steal. But wait, there's more. After that, I came across a promotion that appeared to be from some sort of World War II FPS title, and upon further examination, it can be seen that this one was ripped from a completely separate game called Verdun. And the list here goes on and on. Practically any and every advertisement that Kings of Avalon has used over these past 2 years plus has been point-for-point stolen footage that has nothing to do with their own game, and somehow has been allowed to persist while it helps facilitate their multi-million-dollar microtransaction pay-to-win mess being at or near the top of the mobile gaming charts. This is the point where I started to think, wow, either someone in this game's marketing department is an absolute joke, or it's an actual culture at the company, because the instances being this widespread for this long, that's really hard to ignore. With this in mind, I made the transition to look at Guns of Glory, and it got even worse. The first thing I found is that Guns of Glory also uses Age of Empires footage to promote their crappy product. Keep in mind, this is an entirely separate game still using stolen footage from the same completely different project, and the examples I found were numerous. After that, it became clear that once again, even if the advertisements were not stolen footage that I could identify immediately, they were totally separate from how the game actually played. A YouTuber by the name L3Stars did a wonderful job compiling these ads into a side-by-side comparison that I'm showing in the background footage right now, and the number of times this happened is pretty staggering. Now, obviously this isn't uncommon in the mobile gaming industry. Ads that look or play nothing like the game itself are a pretty standard practice, from the crazy cinematic stuff featuring celebrities for different titles to the memeable Mafia City ads a couple of years ago. However, Guns of Glory is a particularly blatant example while also stealing footage from the very same title as its sibling game, Kings of Avalon, all under the umbrella of FunPlus. To make things even worse, though, much akin to Raid Shadow Legends, Guns of Glory and its Google Play Store page are overrun with fraudulent reviews. The format is entirely too obvious. Reviewer names are two words, some form of randomly generated name combination, followed by a small letter or number combination such as U8, 73, or 99. The review itself is also usually gibberish, such as REA or REA, just that's it, REA. That's the whole thing. Or intellect, or independ. Bottom line, it is blatantly obvious that this game is built upon dishonest practices from the very foundation, including marketing, methodology, promotion, and even its very user reviews. At this point, a lot of viewers might ask, if all this is true, why did they get away with it? It's not like they are some tiny little indie project. They are a massive game and company with investments in esports and multiple other projects, also exhibiting fraudulent behavior themselves. So why has it been let stand for a period of, at this point at least, multiple years? The answer is that it just wasn't under a microscope. That's honestly the only reason. It turns out that FunPlus was forced to retract a Twitter ad in 2018 by the UK government after it was deemed as misleading by their advertising standards agency. This was a minimal victory, seeing as all the other ads are the same thing as well, but it signals that when brought to the attention of governing agencies, these false advertising tactics are not in fact allowed. The complexity of Chinese law being supremely different than other countries might create a bit of an issue sanctioning the company in any meaningful way domestically, but in their foreign operations, it's easily possible. Also, FunPlus continually runs up against UK ASA policy. Z-Day, another one of their games, did the exact same thing. Fake image, different game, totally false advertising, forced to retract the ad, and FunPlus claims an external partner made the ad campaign, and that it would be removed. But that same external partner has been operating now for years with multiple of their titles and games, and they have made no changes whatsoever. Since Kings of Avalon is simply stealing footage from pretty much any game that it can find, and truly it's almost any title even if it has no relation to the actual subject matter of the mobile game, while Guns of Glory follows a very similar pattern, as soon as these titles pop up on relevant agencies' radar, they will get nuked. It won't be some sort of total shutdown, but the individual ads would be taken offline or prohibited by certain platforms in certain countries. A lot of this comes back to money. If this were some tiny little mobile game that had not really found success and just existed in the shadows, then focus might be placed elsewhere. But since this is a top grossing mobile app on the Google Play Store, with millions upon millions of players, downloads, and dollars in revenue every year, it's not a small fish that will get let back into the pond by way of resource priority. The UK government has already proven this, and increased attention on their now blatant, chronic, and malicious format would likely have an actual, tangible impact. Though I could not find screenshots or video recordings myself, reports exist online which indicate that this game and its marketing team have stolen footage from Cossack 3, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, even Zelda Breath of the Wild, not to mention the previous games I highlighted such as Age of Empires, Verdun, Stranded Deep, and Ancient Cities. If you live in America, I'm including a link to the FTC false advertising webpage down below in the description. If you live abroad, I'm not sure exactly what avenue you need to pursue to file a complaint, but I encourage you to do so because clearly self-moderation of the gaming space executed by players themselves, bringing attention to malicious practices, is the only way to expedite the process of cleaning up what has rapidly become an absolute cesspool of an industry. That is the industry of mobile gaming. The confusing aspect to all this is that FunPlus is a massively profitable company. In 2016, they started a $50 million game investment fund, and over the years, they have been executing high-value business maneuvers which expand the company asset pool and position them as a major player in the entire industry. They certainly have the money to create actual advertising campaigns with real footage that contain a high enough production value to make their garbage little app seem appealing. But they deliberately choose not to do that. I don't know about you, but I find that a deliberate choice to be this lazy and mislead your entire audience is by far and away worse than some small dev team with no resources desperately trying to expand their reach without the capital to make things themselves. That's still not all right, ripping off footage from other games. So far as I have found evidence and claims of, over half a dozen separate titles for Kings of Avalon alone. But it's not nearly as bad as having an actual business culture and methodology built around that practice for years. This is one of those really rare instances where something can be done. In a lot of cases, it's a sad scenario of, well, this sucks, but what can we do? Vote with our wallet, I guess, but not much else. However, in this particular case, they are breaking laws, continually doing so, and can easily be flattened by any relevant governmental body for clear violations of copyright and/or false advertising guidelines. FunPlus is just one of many publishing companies in the mobile game industry, but it's a rather big one, and Kings of Avalon is no small fish. We can send a message by getting their advertising campaigns struck down for using actual legitimate and fun titles like Age of Empires, when in reality their actual game should not even be used in the same sentence as the legitimate titles from which it steals. That's it though. If you want to support, there are links down below, also Patreon, merch, and other ways to support the content, plus Twitter and some other social media as well, which is the best way to get in contact with me, honestly, should you have something to send over, like the screenshot that kicked off this entire video. Also, there's another YouTuber linked down below who helped me sort out my hardware situation and produces excellent content. Please support his work. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.